What's going on?
Good afternoon. So we don't get an introduction from Rick?
We'll just introduce ourselves. Oh, there's Rick.
If I must, I'd be happy to. Hello, everybody. It's so lovely to see you all. I'm really excited to be able to introduce two of my favorite humans, Chris DiBiase and Joe McHugh.
I almost spit out my coffee with that right when you said that.
Yeah, we're really excited to be able to spend time with them today to kind of check in and learn what's going on in the world of Google. All of these, I think mostly free opportunities inside of Google that allow you to do all sorts of cool things, most of which I don't use and don't know anything about. So I am thrilled to be able to turn it over to Chris and Joe today and really learn myself exactly what we can and should be using to make our businesses and our lives a little bit more effective and efficient. So guys, take it away.
Yeah, and just to kind of start this out, Google has a lot of tools, right? If you've ever clicked on that icon, it looks like 9 dots on the top right corner of any Google thing. You'll see a abundance of different tools that are available to you. We're not going to be able to talk about all of those today. However, what Chris and I had discussed is if there's anything that you've seen in there that you're curious about that we know, we're happy to do this again, focused on one of those tools, right? So we have what we're going to start with today as far as what we think is foundational that will help your business grow now. And then if there's something else that you are interested in, we're more than happy to bring that to the table later on. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Chris, as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for coming foremost. And I think like Joe said, Google has a large array of products that are incredibly useful and specifically for a real estate agent's business. And I think that's what we just want to highlight and overview. And then we'll focus in on, today we'll focus in on Google Forms as well, because that has a strong place in my business.
Yeah. And if there's anything, as we go forward, if there's anything that you guys are curious about, put that in chat, because I'll monitor that chat and just kind of make notes for next time. But yeah, we're going to focus in on forms. And then the part of that then connects to that is spreadsheets as well. So your screen was shared and now it's gone away. So I don't know what.
My screen?
Yeah, did you share your screen?
No, that wasn't my screen.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was your screen.
It wasn't my screen.
No, it was me. I was just trying to show them what you were talking about with the 9 dots.
Oh, okay. And do we have permission to share, Rick? Is that turned on for us?
You sure do.
Okay, cool. I know, Chris, did you want to share yours? I know you said you had quite a few forms in there.
Yeah, so let me pull it up.
So before we get started on this, what Forms is probably the most versatile and it's a tool that we use a lot. And it's one that you may have been familiar with if you've done the sign in to win as an example, right? We use Forms a lot as far as that's concerned. I know quite a few of you use it for open house sign-ins, for making offers, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today, multiple offer situations. Any other things, if you could put in chat, what are some things that you have used Forms for or that you might want to use Forms for? And we might be able to show you examples of that or show you how to create that today. So if you put that in chat as Chris is pulling this up, that would be super helpful.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So here's the dots that Joe was speaking about. And in here, when you click on it, you're going to see all the different products that Google offers. I'm assuming most people have Gmail accounts. If not, I would recommend or suggest getting one because then you have access to all of this. So you have Gmail, Google. So the ones I use most are Gmail, Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, Calendar, Forms, Maps, and Tasks. And you can see there's probably double or triple that in the suite of products they offer. So you have a lot of different options. Joe, what do you use in here?
Yeah, those, I also use Google AdWords sometimes, to run ads, driving traffic to my website, as well as, Google Business, right? Which I don't think is up here, but it is something that, if agents are not using, to at least put their business out there, they're missing out on something, and also collect reviews as well. Yeah, Rick, thank you for putting that in there. The Google email is, or sorry, your KW email is a Google email. So you do get access to a lot of these through that. There are two exceptions to that that I know of, just so you're aware. One is, I don't believe you have access to Google Voice, although they may have changed that. Google Voice through the KW email, that allows you to have a second phone number. The other one is Google Ads. KW will not let you run Google Ads through the KW account. You have to have a secondary Google account for that, just because they don't want to be on the hook for your spending bill. So they do not give you access to that one. And as you can see, Chris is not in a Google account right now, or a KW account right now, but you do have access to that through KW.
Yeah, if I was in my KW Gmail account, you would see Google My Business as one of these icons right here, and you'd be able to click into that and get to the back end of that Google My Business page. And I also would definitely suggest doing a Google My Business page. Start sending reviews there, because you're going to get like organic SEO traffic, and just start posting to that, and you'll start seeing leads start trickling in from there. Or that's what I've noticed, at least.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe let's start with a form. Let's start with forms, and let's go from there. So we mentioned a couple of places, and you can see Chris has quite a few forms that he's done here. Multiple offers, collecting client information, open house sign-in. All of these are good uses for these four forms. I see buyer info form. I'm assuming, is that like a buyer consultation information, or what's that?
No, so the buyer info form is actually Debbie's creation. That's what she created to have other agents input info. So they're basically outlining their offer. So you have it all in one spot for when you're reviewing it. It's going to input. Any form has the ability to link up with a spreadsheet. So the data from the form goes to the spreadsheet, and then you can access it there and review it.
Right.
So this was a form Debbie made up probably about a year ago. That's a fantastic tool.
Right. And anybody who is listing properties right now has probably experienced being a listing agent on a multiple offer situation. And this is a great way to, one, keep track of all that information in one place, and two, to see if they're really, really serious, right? If somebody is going to take the time to fill this out, there's a level of seriousness that exists with that agent and their buyers. And it also is a system, so you don't miss it, right? So if you get, let's say you get 10 offers in on a property, or at least you think you got 10 offers in on a property because you saw 10 emails, this form ultimately allows you to look through and say, okay, I have 15 things here, but there are only 10 emails within that I can find. I'm missing something, right? So it's a level of accountability. It's a level of being able to treat everybody fairly, so that you can keep track of all of that.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to go through how to like create a form really quick?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's pretty self-explanatory and simple to do. So you just go into the Google Forms app. You're going to click on a blank form, and they actually have templates already. So you can scroll through those, or just choose a blank form, and everything's pretty much clickable. So.
Yep. A couple of things. One place. So you see on the left over there, or sorry, the right, you have those. My left and my rights are horrible. You have the different options for what you can add to a form. So you can add another question. Sorry, on the.
Got it right here.
Yeah. You can add a question. You can import questions, although I've never actually used that. I think it just imports the header from a spreadsheet. You can add a title and description. So if you have separate sections, you can add images. as you saw from Chris's thing. You can add a video. So again, in the example of a multiple offer situation, maybe you put the instructions on what people need to do there. Or maybe it's a form online where you're collecting information for leads. So you do an intro video, right? Give some value there. And then sections. Sections allow people to move through the various steps. So, okay, these are 3 questions here, 3 questions here. It allows it to break it up a little bit. When you have a question, there are different types. So if you click on that, Chris, we'll talk through this, right? Obviously, short answer, long answer, depending on how much information you're going to select. Multiple choice, which makes them pick one of the options. Checkbox, which allows them to pick more than one option. Drop down also only allows one option, but in the drop down form. Now, the next one, I want to be very clear on something with this file upload. You may think this is a great idea, especially in situations where you're doing like collecting information for offers, okay? There is a caveat to this. Anything that the file upload requires them to sign into Google. So if you are working with somebody who does not have a Google account, you have now eliminated them from the ability to fill out your form. Now you might say, doesn't everybody have a Google account? That is a fair question. The answer in the end is no. Okay, so have you ever worked with that agent who, and I am really sorry if I'm calling somebody out here, who has the @AOL.com email address for everything they do? Likely they do not have a Google account, or they don't know the password to their Google account. So you may unintentionally be eliminating somebody from the ability to use your form if you use that file upload button. So just skip that one and then ask them to email you the file, send them like a link or an email address that you would send that to, and give them instructions on maybe what to put for the subject so you don't miss it. But just be aware that you want to watch out for that one. The rest of them, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, if those are very unique, linear scales on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this or whatnot, stuff like that. And then date and time is obviously pretty self-explanatory there. Those other ones are unique situations, linear, multiple choice, and checkbox grid. If you've ever seen surveys where you kind of have to rank things and do stuff like that, usually it's one of those. I would say for 90% of you making these forms, you won't need those options, but don't try to add those last minutes. There's a little bit of a learning curve as far as those are concerned. Anything you want to add to that, Chris? I'm not sure.
No, and I actually have a survey form that was just created. I'm going to be implementing, so I'll show that in a minute. But like it's very customizable and easy. You can drag and reposition questions how you want them. Some questions you'll want to be required that they answer, some you might not.
Yep.
So you can just toggle that on and off. If you want to get rid of a box, just click delete. If you want to duplicate it, that way maybe you have the entire layout like the linear scale 1 to 5, and you want to do that again, you could just hit duplicate and then change the question or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, you could create, I know a lot of you have taken Ignite and we talk about the buyer needs survey. You may be able to create this buyer needs survey and send it to people before you even meet with them. Whether or not you think that's a good idea to have it completely done ahead of time, that's up to you and your business, but you may be able to do a shortened version of that you could then build off of in your buyer consultation, so you save some time there, right? And using those linear things might be one way to do that.
Sort of like a buyer intake form?
Yeah, so like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this feature in your home, right? Or whatnot. But yeah, one of those kind of buyer consultation questionnaires where you identify what they're looking for in a property. Now, once you've created the form, the responses button is going to be your best friend. You will be able to see all of the responses here, but what Chris is hovering over right now, the create spreadsheet, is probably your most important thing that you're going to be able to do. Now, you can just download this data, which is one of the options, and open it in Excel if that makes more sense to you, if you like using Excel. However, I recommend creating a spreadsheet so that then you can see that information, and that spreadsheet will constantly be updated every time somebody fills out this form. So if you want to make certain that you always have the most up-to-date information in a single place, creating a spreadsheet or linking it to an existing spreadsheet are going to be your two best options.
Yeah, absolutely. Spreadsheets, it's great. And getting more technical, we can cover this in another class. There's ways to notify you when a spreadsheet row is like updated through other applications. I'm not going to go down that road now.
Yeah.
I see Joe laughing, but he knows where that could be heading. But it's a great tool because you might just get a text out of nowhere saying, oh, this person filled out this form, go take a look at it, and then you can get in touch with them.
Yeah. Now, the next section is even more important than the responses. If you click on that settings, there are a few things in here that we want to make sure that we have set up so that you're not creating any obstacles for your potential people filling out the form. Make a quiz. You don't really need that. That's a unique thing for if you're going to rank these. So I'd say 90% of you, 99% of you are never going to use that particular feature. That just turns it into a quiz. Although if you do a first-time homebuyer seminar and you wanted maybe to gauge people's attention in the first-time homebuyer seminar, you may present a quiz like partial way through. That's one way you can use that for that feature as an example. Responses. The first one, collect email addresses. I'm going to say don't use this to collect email addresses. Create a question on the form to collect email addresses. The reason being is that is something else that can potentially cause people to have to log in with Google. Okay, so I would just leave collect email addresses off because of that feature. They may have changed that, but if you're testing the form and it does force them to log in with Google, that is one of the things to check to make sure is turned off. Again, not everybody has Google accounts, so that's important. Scrolling down, allow response editing. Again, that's going to require a login to Google. Actually, it looks like they have changed some of this as far as that's concerned. But if you are using the KW email address and not a regular Gmail, this restrict users to your domain needs to be turned off. The reason being is anybody who is not a part of your domain, it will require them to log in and they will not be able to access the form. I have seen this as the biggest issue that agents have where they send it. And it's asked people to log into Google, and it's because they're using their KW one and they have that clicked, and that's going to make it so it doesn't work. And same to limit to one response, that's going to also create a problem as far as requiring people to log in. You may think that's a good idea, but if they don't have a Google account, it's not going to work for them.
Yeah, you don't want to you want to keep as least amount of restrictions as possible because you want them to just fill out the form. And if they have any trouble or any kind of resistance getting to that, they're just going to say, screw it, whatever, and move on with their day, So definitely make it exactly how Joe said. Don't make it so they have to log in with a Gmail account.
Yeah. Joanne, you had a question.
No, not a question. Just for anybody new to this, I've been using these, and the first time I did not have that restricted button off. So people are saying I can't access it. Well, what the heck? So, and then just make it a habit to do. I wish there were a way that you can have it automatically unchecked or always unchecked.
There is actually, if you go back to that, Chris, go back to that create form. Click on settings. I think if you go down to form defaults, you should, no, it's only for that. So yeah, no, you're right. You can't actually save that. You'd have to, Now, if you set up a form with those features and you duplicate that form to create a new one, it should remember those settings. But yes, you're right. You do have to go and check that every single time.
Good point. And those spreadsheets are wonderful. I use them.
Yeah,
And it's
Chris,
great
go
to
back and
capture.
go back in to create that form. I want to show them one more thing on this. Up on the top, if you look at that, it looks like a painter's palette on the top right. This will allow you to edit this a little bit. So if you click choose image, it's really cool if you just choose an image, and we'll choose one of these here just by default. Anytime you upload an image, it actually will change the form to kind of match the image so it looks good. So again, if you're lead generating, if you're doing something like that, you can upload this header image and it'll look really good with whatever you upload. My asterisk on that is always make sure you have the rights to use whatever photo you're using. Don't just grab something off the internet you don't have permission to, but it will make this form match that image. And then you can change it to better match what you are looking for from a stylistic standpoint. Now, if you want to preview that form, that's what the eyeball on the top right ultimately does. So we can look at that. We can see what this form is going to look like with the consumer. The last thing I want to do, and I'm going to do a trainer timeout here because what I see, the biggest mistake I see people make is instead of hitting, and Chris is hovering over that send button, instead of using that button, what they do is they go up to the top and copy the URL. Do not do that, okay? Because if you do that and you send that to the consumer, you are sending them to this page where they can edit it, which is going to prompt that login, right? And it's going to create those issues, right? We don't ever want that. You want to use that send button. And then the second option on that send button is that link. This is the only place you get the link to send them the form, okay? Click the shorten URL. That's great. You can use that as well. Do not get it anywhere else, okay? This is what you want. This is the only place you grab that. There are other options, embedding forms, stuff like that, but don't get it from anywhere else.
Yeah, this is the option I use. I always use the copy link. I don't send it through email directly from here. I'll copy the link, shorten it, and then put it in my own email or send it in a text.
Yep. And then I think the only other option, there's yeah, sorry, did somebody say something?
You wouldn't use Bitly to shorten the URL?
You could.
It's here, so I guess you don't need to.
Yeah, you could. I actually like this is getting way out there. There's a thing called Rebrandly, which actually allows you to take a domain you own and turn it into a Bitly like thing. So I can send people to like mchugh.com/whatever, and it will do the same thing Bitly does. But yes, any of those URL shorteners work.
Can you change the description on this particular link?
No, you can only copy this.
If you took that link and brought it to like a bit.ly.com, which is free, you can edit the to whatever you want.
Yeah, then I put it in Smart Plans.
Yep. My one warning on Smart Plans, Joanne, is or any texting service. Texting domains don't like Bitly for some reason. If it's the first email that goes out, they may block it. So just be mindful using Bitly when you're sending things out, because they know Bitly is used by marketers and they try to limit marketing that goes out. So be careful with that when you're sending those out.
Okay, thank you.
That's about that for the forms. Now, other options, I don't know if we want to talk about like something like this, something you might use this for.
Yeah, so I have a good example of this form and responses with the spreadsheet. So this is a form that was made for rentals. Actually, Kim Kendall made this form and shared it with me. So anytime I have a rental listing on the market, whenever a lead comes in from a lead source like a Zillow Rentals or a Zumper or Homes.com, I have it set up so an email automatically goes out with a link to this form, asking them to fill it out if they want to see the place. They sort of pre-filter themselves out. The ones that fill it out tend to be more serious than not. And I'm asking, relevant qualifying information in this form. What they think their credit scores in, when they want to move in, do they smoke, do they have pets, how long they want to be there. And all this goes to a spreadsheet.
Hey, Chris or Joe, is that a template already made for us to use, or is that something we will have to create
I mean,
ourselves?
it's something I could send out.
Oh,
I
could
could
you? Yeah, that
definitely
would be
send it
great.
out.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I guess in line with what, I don't know who it was that just asked, but Robert rather. You know how in command, exactly, like we can go in command and we can find, somebody's in the library, somebody's smart plan or something that somebody made. Is there any way to do that? Because I feel like we're all reinventing the wheel. If somebody has, the form that when there's a multiple bid offer, this is what they use, I'd like to be able to see it instead of creating my own. And if somebody has a form
Yeah.
for, rentals that works and has all the questions, not that I have to, necessarily use it, but to even just be able to view some of these things, especially being a newer agent, I just feel like so many times I'm just
Yeah,
doing.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So it works a little bit differently. We might be able to make here's the thing. We might be able to make a folder that can be shared out. It's not going to be in a central location. It's not going to be like Smart Plans where you know where to go for it per se, because you're in command every day. But we could share some of these in a drive, and then you would just have to make a copy of it in order to do that. So how that works, and I don't know if you want to go back to the form real quick, Chris. So if Chris were to send you this form, he would likely send it to you as view only. A view only form, then what you would do is go back to, I forget where the option for this is, but there is right there in that 3 dots. The very first option is make a copy. So anytime, yes, you can go in there, make a copy, and then that form is your own. So we could probably do this with the forms that Chris has here. If there are any specialized forms that other agents are using, they would have to have shared that with us first in order for us to share them with you. And that's easy enough to manage. We're more than happy to put a couple of those in a library for everybody here. Just understand what the form is and know that you can change it. It's not like Smart Plans in that regard. In a file we all share on Google Drive. Yeah, we can all put it in a centralized Google Drive. I can set that up.
That would be great. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
For sure. It's a great idea. And I would like it as well for anybody that has, that they're using in their business, that'll make it easier for others instead of having others put in the time to, create it. If we can just go somewhere and have something, I've heard other agents express the same thing, Ronnie. So if we do put together something, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be great, because that's what I find I spend too much time on trying to create things.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I think everyone else will.
But just
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chris, how do you send that form out to tenant? I mean, when you put up a listing, MLS is the one who is sending out to the other website, like rental.com or whatever it is. How do you send your link to the tenant to fill out the?
So how am I sending the email with the link to this form?
Not the email. I believe you said whenever you're getting a lead, you fill out the form that you made, not the default one that we receive from the different website.
So I think, so are you talking about rentspree.com?
No, this form, the rental form the rental questionnaire here,
Yes.
I believe you said that whenever you put up a listing, all the lead have to fill out this, correct?
Correct, yes.
But how do you send it to the lead?
How do I send it to the lead?
I think she's asking how do you set it up automatically? So whenever a lead comes in, it automatically gets sent to them for them to answer this questionnaire.
So in my CRM, I'm not using Command as my CRM. I have different lead sources that flow into it automatically, I guess would be the word. And when it recognizes that, I have a smart plan trigger a set of events, and one's an email to go out immediately with this link saying, hi, John, thanks for inquiring about 123 Main Street. Please fill out this link and we'll be back in touch afterwards.
But do you,
Let me, because regardless, I think there are two things that we're talking about here. One is Chris is basically getting the lead first and then sending it to him. He is not distributing this link out to all those websites, right? These don't live on Zillow. This link doesn't live there. The lead comes in, and however it does, right? We've all had listings where we may get a lead come in and we're like, we didn't even know that website existed, and yet we got a lead from this website, right? So
Yeah.
anytime Chris gets a lead from any of those sources, he then responds to an email with this. Some of that obviously is going to be automated because he has it set up that way. Some of that is not going to be automated because it's just random and he hasn't set it up yet, right? It just hasn't been that way. So there's
Thank
that.
you.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe. I think it's clear now. When he
Yeah.
received the lead, like apartment.com, he sent out this email for the lead to respond.
Exactly.
Okay. I
Now,
get it. Thank
Debbie
you.
had mentioned putting this in your remarks on the MLS.
Listing. Yes.
My question is, and I don't know, Chris, you would I personally wouldn't do this because I'm using that as a filter, so I know which of the people who are reaching out to me are serious or not. If I were to put this on the MLS, I wouldn't know if it was coming from an agent or from a website, so I wouldn't use it in that regard. I might use a different link for agents to submit a thing, but I wouldn't use this same one because this, for me, is, like you said, a filtration on, is this lead a serious lead or not, right? So what are your thoughts as far as that's concerned?
So
I think-
I don't post this link to the MLS. I didn't really put much thought into that, but it's something I haven't done. I think from what I've noticed with the rental listings I've had, most of the people are coming from other websites and not agent represented.
Yeah.
You're getting a plethora of people that are just clicking on Zillow or Trulia or whatever, inquiring about the rental on their own, not necessarily an agent reaching out to you.
And if you were to use that same link, the problem I think there is if you were to use that same link on the MLS that you use to send out to your leads, now you don't know which ones are coming from the MLS and which ones are coming from there. I think you're actually creating more work for yourself, whereas this is designed to limit the amount of work you're doing. So I would just use this personally for leads and then let agents get me this information on their own and let them vet the clients otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, every response goes into a spreadsheet. You can view the information here. Like I said earlier, I also have it set up so anytime a new row is filled out and updated, I receive a text message saying, hey, someone filled this form out. Go take a look at the information, and then I can follow up.
So I did see, Silva, you made a comment. Is this doable through command? I'm assuming you mean some of the automation, or do you mean the form itself? So the form itself, obviously, this is going to be separate, right? You're collecting the information. This is a more robust form creator than what command has. The missing piece to what you're saying is yes, we can automate. If you get the lead into command and it's tagged with a tag trigger, you should be able to automate at least that first email that goes out. The catch is, how do you get it into command? And I think the same way Chris gets it into his system and into command are actually very similar. It's a third-party program, which we weren't going to discuss today. It's a program called Zapier. We're not going to teach that today. That's a little bit more complicated. but with a program like Zapier, you can potentially get those things into command to begin some of that automation. Otherwise, you would just have to do it manually.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share any of the forms. If there's forms that you see and you're like, I want to just reach out somehow, and I'll send you the link.
Hey, Joe or Chris, so since this is linked to Google, so when a lead comes in, it will come to our Gmail account. Where would the alert go to so that we know that we got a new lead then, if it doesn't go to command?
Yeah, I don't remember if it alerts you. I think it can alert your email address that a form has been filled out. Again, that if you wanted a text notification or something in addition to that, that would require that third-party system. But it should alert your email. I believe it does, if I remember the last
it
form I
does.
set up. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
it does.
We just have to check from time to time randomly, pretty much. Okay, but all right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
you
guys.
look in your email and it's in there, you know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a kw@kw.com and they come through to that.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, this is another great example of what you might use one of these forms for. So this is what I love using a form like this as client feedback. So here's the thing. Are we going to be able to stop our clients from finding, Zillow and all of that, right? Whatever. No. They can go and find that on their own, and we want those reviews. One of the great things you can do is kind of start them on this, get your feedback initially, and then maybe you could take with their feedback and send it to them, like say, hey, this is the feedback you gave. Could you go and post this, and then give them the 3 different links on, Zillow, Google, Yelp, right? So you actually have them fill this out once and then say, hey, just go and post this on these other websites for me, right? And then the cool thing is if you come in here and they come in and they say you did a horrible job and you're completely blindsided by that, not that anybody in this room would ever have that happen to them, but has it happened to some of the best of us where somebody maybe didn't like us as much as we thought? Well, now you're like, oh, well, I guess I won't send them that. Go and post this review on Zillow for this particular client. So we can actually create a little bit of, what's the word? We have a way to manage that a little bit better. So.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's a good place for feedback on where you can, and you want to ask things like, not just what did I do great, but what did I do wrong and how can I be better? And like really tell them to just be honest, because you're not going to be hurt by what they say. You want to know so
right.
and improve in the future, because you want them to refer people to you and let them know that's going to be handled if that was an issue for them.
Well, and you want to know what you could have done better here. You don't want them putting what you could do better out on Zillow, right? That's not the place for that.
Exactly.
So if you kind of use this to help them get that out there, they'll probably be actually more satisfied with you as far as an agent goes, as far as that's concerned. Great. I see, Marcel, you put a great comment in the chat, which is the link I'll put in the agent only remarks is the one for when you receive a multiple offer. Absolutely. If you put in there highest and best or whatever due by this date with that in the agent remarks, as far as, we talk about all the time, treating other agents fairly, right? Treating other clients fairly. That's a great way to do that, is if you put it out there to be able to make everybody feel like they were treated well. Absolutely. You may also put it in places like the in the showing, in showing what showing time's going away, whatever it's being replaced by, where it sends it to them by, hey, you booked this appointment. You're going to need to put an offer in by this time. Here's the link to do that, right? So we can put it in multiple places so that people feel like they were exposed to it as much as possible. Joanne, I do see you had your hand raised. Do you have a comment or a question? No? Are you muted? No? Okay, Robert, go ahead. What'd you have to say?
Hey, so Now, would you have to build a landing page to put this link in, or no? That's unnecessary. We just put the link up.
This
Right.
is, it's its own landing page.
It's its own landing page, right? All right, that's what I thought.
Yep.
All right, I see
If,
what it is.
if you wanted to, like, there's an embed option. You can put it on other websites if you have them. But for the most part, these are standalone forms that you're just going to send people to for a specific reason.
Okay.
You know, so whether it's lead capture, whether it's lead follow-up, or, you know, like I said, buyer survey or whatever, you're going to most likely have some sort of contact with these people before you're sending it to them. The exception, lead generation, in which case you just send them to that form directly.
I see what you're saying. Cool. Thanks, Joe.
So I didn't unmute before. I
Oh,
do
yeah.
have a-
What's up?
I do have a question for this form. You had said that, you know, once they fill out this form, you can then send to them, asking them to go on to, you know, giving them the links for other sites. What are you sending them? Does this create something, or is there a way to create the information from this to send to them?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to tackle that one, Chris, or?
So what are you asking again, Joanne? What do you actually send them to get to here?
No, after they fill this out,
Mhm.
you're sending, you know, certain people, or all of them, hopefully, say, hey, thank you very much, you know, please post this on. What are
Oh,
you sending them to post? So they're not doing it all over again.
oh, I see what you're saying. So essentially, like, let's scroll down a little bit, Chris. I don't know if you had a what did you like, you know, question. So what did you love about working with us? What I would do, and in this situation, is I would probably copy that and put that in an email back to him and be like, thank you so much for this feedback. Would you mind going and posting this on these other sites, right? Or a version of this on these other sites. So I'm just going to take the part that's positive and I'm going to say, hey, could you go and post this on? And then I would provide the direct link for Zillow, the direct link for Realtor, the direct link, I can't speak today, the direct link for Google Business, right? All of those places that I want this to show up, my Facebook page, wherever, I would send them that with the piece of this. Now, I might, if they're like, would I take what they said and change it? Maybe, but then I would say, hey, I made some modifications because I think this is how it would look best online. Feel free to post it or something else, but I made it easy for you. Could you post it in these places? That's the only strategy that I would go there.
Beautiful, thank you.
If you change it, tell them you've changed it, right? Don't just like be like, change it from Joe is an okay realtor to Joe is the best realtor in the world and hope they don't catch it, because that's not authentic, right? So just be mindful of anything you do there.
And what do you have in that QR code, Chris?
So this is just directing back to my website. What I'm doing with this form is I'm going to be sending this form out in a mailed out personal card with a QR code to come back to this form. But this QR code on the form is actually just going back to my website.
Okay,
show
but you're
you-
doing
I'll
a
show you.
mailing.
Yeah,
with a
so I
QR
have,
code to bring them there.
exactly. I have an account with AM Cards and I'm building out a campaign. And one of the cards after closing, like 4 months out, I think I'm going to send this card. And at the bottom of it, I just put this with this QR code, and that QR code links back to the survey form.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So Lloydie, if remember in the edit where you were able to put an image as the header, Chris went and designed this somewhere. So you
I did
could,
that in Canva.
yeah, you could use a system like Canva. You could probably also use Designs if you're using Command, where you just go in and you edit this. Look for something that's like a header option, right? So that's usually the right size. You could technically upload any image here, but it's not going to look right unless it's the right size. And I think when you edit, it tells you what size it needs to be if you absolutely want to do a custom one. But yeah, Canva will work just fine.
Mhm.
Cool. Any other
Any other
questions?
questions? We didn't plan that, Joe.
I know that was what, if there are no other questions, what would people like to see in another class like this? What Google product do you think would be showcased and be valuable to you if we were to do this class again?
Setting up on Google.
Setting up on Google. So talk to me about, what do you mean by that?
So somebody Googles, you know, you Google somebody, there's a pop-up there on the side and all your information is there.
Your Google business. Okay. Yeah, we could absolutely do that for you. I think. Chris, can you do? I haven't done that in forever. I feel like my Google page has existed since like, it's been there for like 10 years,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so you're talking about a Google My Business profile, how to set that up.
Yes,
cool.
I've started, but it's not complete.
What else?
How will we know if it's complete or not? Does that come out once it's complete only? Like the whole picture and Chris DeBaz, Fairfield County Real Estate and stuff? Or is there a page we can, or is there a place we can check if we've fully completed the process? I think I started, but who knows if I probably just gave up in the middle of it.
I think, so you're gonna have to log into your KW account, your Gmail, and click on those 9 dots in the top right corner, and you'll see the Google My Business profile icon. Click on that, and that's gonna be your personal back end. And that's where you'll be able to edit things like your phone number, your hours you're open, address.
Yes,
all that stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Perfect.
So
Thank you.
we'll do a whole class on this. You can actually go to business.google.com if you can't find that link in the top corner. Here's what I would say, and I see this a lot with agents. And actually, I'm going to do a trainer timeout on this for forms as well. If you have multiple Google accounts, the one you're logged into is very important. Okay, so if you're logged in with Google account A one day and then try to find that form when you're logged into Google account B on another day, it's not going to be there. So what I would say is decide which Google account you're going to use for all of this and make sure you are logged into that account when you go there. Okay, so if that's your KW account, great, use that. If it's another Google account, great, use that. Just be mindful that you're logged into the right one when you go there. Otherwise, you're going to be like, wait, I had this set up. Why isn't it working? What's going on? All my work is gone. Then you're going to call me or you're going to call Chris and you're going to be like, hey, it's not like what you said. Okay. So always make sure that you are logged into the proper account. Once you do that, you can go to these places.
So it's technically something like Facebook and Facebook, like the business, huh? It has to be linked to a personal account.
It has to be a link to an account. Yes.
To an account. All right.
Yeah.
And then, okay. And then you're basically like, you should be able to go between accounts, between your personal and your business account to do things. That's what you're saying, right? Correct.
I mean, there's not really a personal Google per se. I mean, you could have a personal email versus a business email. My point is that whichever account you're operating in to create this is the account that you should be logged into whenever you go to work on it.
I see what
Right.
you're saying. By the email, you mean not in an actual account. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Thanks, Joe.
Joanne, you had a question?
Yeah, Chris, which icon in your Drive shows your Google business account?
It's not in this one. So I'm using my Google Suite account for ChrisDiBiaseRealEstate.com. This is not my KW account.
Okay, gotcha.
And I did see, I think, Silva, you had made a comment about verification through Postal Service. I know we're not getting we'll talk about this more if we do a class on business. Google basically doesn't want you to go and make businesses all around the world if you don't actually live there. So it will actually send out a postcard that you then have to use that code to say that you are actually there, right? So what I used to be able to do is say, oh, I'm Joe McHugh Realtor. I'm at the Ridgefield office. I'm at the Stamford office. I'm at the Westport office. I'm at the Trumbull office. I'm at all these offices, and that's me. They don't really allow that anymore. You have to say where you are, they'll send you a postcard. You have to go and get that code. So here's where it is. If you're doing it out of this, let's say the Stanford office as an example, make sure that after you go to set up your account, you actually physically go into the office and get that card. Or, you know, if you don't go in there regularly, but you have somebody you know who is in there, be like, hey, could you check my mail folder and get me this code so that I can verify it? However you want to do that. It usually takes, I don't know, 7 days or so, and then it expires after a while. So make certain that you do it within a set period. Otherwise, you're going to have to start that process all over again.
So I quickly switched over to my KW account, and this is the icon right here, your business profile. If you click on that, it'll bring it to the back end where you can see phone calls you received, instant messages, insights into the traffic, all that stuff.
So for you to see the business part, you have to log in directly with KW. I mean, I have Gmail open and I have 3 accounts. So I go from one to another. I'm automatically signed in. However, on KW, I don't see the business part.
Yeah, you can type business.google.com to get there directly. Like forms, like all of that, it depends on which one you set it up with initially, if you're going to get back to it. So if you started it in the KW one and then you're in your personal one and you try to go there, you might not be able to access it until you switch your K. So it really just matters whichever one you created it in. And again, to my point is, try to do as much under one as you can, because if you have to keep track of like 6 different Google accounts on where you do things, that's a full-time job in and of itself, right? And that will stress you out more than just creating it.
So a direct question to you. Do you use the KW or use an alternative Gmail account for all this realtor stuff for yourself?
So that's a great question. And I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. One, I pay for Google Business Suite. So I have my own custom domain. I don't necessarily recommend agents doing that because it's an additional cost that you don't need. From that standpoint, the kw.com email is a professional email, right? I personally, when I get something from something like that versus from gmail.com, AOL.com, I consider that a level of professionalism that's a little bit higher. So I would think about that whenever you're deciding which email you should use. You can always forward your KW emails to whatever email address you want in that regard. The asterisk on that, right? The footnote is, you can't use, I don't think you can use Google Voice, and I don't think you can, and I know you can't use Google AdWords with your KW email. So you may need to use a different one for those services, but everything else you should be able to do right under your KW email address.
But then if you do the Google AdWords with a different email, don't you want those ads to go to the KW? Google AdWords won't. Yeah, Google AdWords won't send leads to your email. You need some kind of lead capture on a website. It's not designed to send leads to you there. Like that's a bigger conversation than we have time today. So that won't matter in that regard. And which is more likely to be spammed, the kw.com or gmail.com, when you send out something to cold leads?
To be marked as spam. That really depends on how you're using it. And if you're, if you're using, that's another one that's a bigger conversation. I honestly don't think one or the other will necessarily get tagged as spam more than the other. I don't think that the domain itself has any influence on that. It's more about how you're using the email to reach out to people that gets you logged as spam. Yeah, Robert.
Hey, I think you answered this already, but just to double check that I heard right. So it doesn't really matter if you use your KW or your Gmail email, right? To put, because I just checked, for some reason my suite is on my Gmail, not my KW. And it could be because when I first started, I wasn't aware that KW was going to give me a KW email. So like I made a Robert Infantes Realtor at Gmail and signed up to everything with that email.
Again, that's fine. My comment on the professionalism comes more for like,
The KW just looks more professional, right? At KW.com.
yeah. So if you put that on your business card, just so it looks more professional, that's fine. And then have it forward to your other one. I mean, there's steps involved in that, but I like that domain from a professional standpoint.
Yep.
Than a Gmail itself directly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I did. Instead of just switching everything to the new email, I just linked the KW and I put all my business ads under KW. All right, so that's fine. All right, thanks, Joe.
Raquel, go ahead. You might be muted. Maybe she's just high-fiving. I don't know.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know why I have issues with mute. So you asked if there was anything else Google-wise that you could help with.
Sure.
I do Facebook ads and Instagram ads, obviously through Facebook, but I hate kind of having all my eggs in one basket. So you mentioned Google ads. So if you know how to do Google ads, that would be like something good to learn.
Yeah, I actually have a video that I can send you. I interviewed Mike Hillary, who's the RTT of the Illinois region. Now this is specifically using Command for this, so it's a little less about Google and more about Command. That being said, it talks about setting it up. The key factor in running Google Ads is you need a really good lead capture page. Currently, the KW website is great for lead conversion, but it doesn't have that forced registration. So you need something else there to be able to capture that lead.
I use something that I use like listings to leads, which is
absolutely, yeah,
that can capture that. So yeah, that would be helpful to know. And I know that I could probably go on YouTube and like find a million videos on how to do it, but if you kind of like have a better way to go through it, that would be great.
Yeah. So with you, and we're just out of time now, so just want to make sure everybody's aware. 3 minutes, I guess. With Google, it's about keywords, right? So it's about what people are looking for and identifying those things. And that actually takes a little bit of time and experience to learn what people are looking for. So an example would be if you search for, and you're in the Ridgefield Market Center, so if you look for Ridgefield, Connecticut real estate, you may be competing against a lot of people to be able to get those AdWords, right? Versus you may find a niche keyword, which a lot of people search for, but is not as expensive, right? So those are important factors in that. It's definitely a little more complicated than running the Facebook ads, which is why Facebook tends to be really popular right now, is because it's kind of become this easy button for being able to find business. So there's a little bit of an art to running Google AdWords. That being said, let me find that video for you. I don't know, Chris, do you run AdWords? Do you have any comments on that, or?
I do, but I don't do them personally.
Okay.
So a third-party company is doing it.
Yeah.
So I would have no idea how to build it out or anything like that.
Do you find success with the third-party company you're using?
What was that?
Are you finding success with the third-party company you're using?
Yes.
Okay.
It tends to usually with, and I can't speak for the company you're using, but the piece to that is you get the ads run and then you also pay a fee. So it generally creates a little bit more cost, but you don't have to think about it. You don't have to plan it and work on it. They just do it. And you need some kind of monthly spend as far as that's concerned.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I know we just had that thing with that. Does that new company we're working with, and I can't speak to this. I don't know if Debbie or Rick, you can, that new company we're working with, do they do AdWords for agents?
I'm not sure about that. I think it depends on what you talk with them about. I'm not sure that they'd go that deep.
Okay.
So Joe, I would say that it's fair to say to have a 101 Google series. And even like Google Calendar, yeah, I have an idea about it, but how to, make the most of it.
Okay.
And there are so many features. I mean, Google is so complex and so, underused.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
I'm
So,
just
yeah,
trying to find that
let's,
video.
send in any ideas you have. If you want to email Joe or myself, and we'll put together, some upcoming classes on
I'm
topics you specifically like.
I'm dropping the interview I did with Mike Hillary in there for anybody who's interested in Google AdWords. I would say that unless you are looking to spend additional money on some kind of lead capture site, though, that's not for you at this time. Maybe in the near future. I know there are some updates coming to Command that potentially could change my opinion on this. But for right now, unless you have that third party, this is not the strategy for you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chris. This was great. Really,
Thanks,
really
guys.
helpful.
Yeah,
Link to
very
the
helpful.
YouTube link.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Yes,
I-
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I second that idea of having one-on-ones for, for anything Google. That would be great. I mean, I thought I knew how to use things.
Thank you.
All right, Joe, take care. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take
Thank you,
care. Bye.
guys.